Let's go straight to our first newsmaker who was present at that working committee meeting, senior Congress leader and former Finance and Home Minister P. Chidambaram. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Chidambaram. There will be those who say today that in the Congress party, the more the things remain change, the more they remain the same. Sonia Gandhi offers to withdraw, says she is resigning in the morning. By evening, your party has a chorus, Sonia must stay, and she stays on for 6 months. What does this say, sir, about your party? Is it that your party simply cannot look beyond the Gandhis?
That's the uncharitable section of the media's uncharitable explanation, and I sincerely hope that you will not join that group. We have looked at the matter, we have found a way out, and we have laid out a schedule for ourselves that we will hold an AICC session as early as possible. But for the pandemic, the AICC session could have been held earlier. Did you or I or anyone anticipate a pandemic and a pandemic consuming most part of a calendar year? So I think give us a break. And I think we have resolved that we will elect a regular president in the next few months.
You know, Mr. Chidambaram, it is not for me to give the Congress party a break. It is for the Congress party to give itself a break. The fact is you've had an interim chief in Sonia Gandhi for over a year now. Some of the issues that have been raised in a letter sent by 23 colleagues, many of them very senior leaders, you know, go beyond just Sonia Gandhi. They go to the way your party is functioning. It's not the media who has raised these issues. Your own party is raising them. So please ask your own party to give yourself a break.
Please understand that there were some extraordinary events after she was elected as interim president. I was one of those who was impatient that an AICC session should be held. But then there was the monsoon session of Parliament. And after the monsoon session of Parliament, her health was indifferent. And then we had the pandemic. The pandemic has consumed from March to now August, and we don't know how many more months. But for the pandemic, I'm absolutely certain in my mind, a number of us would have pushed, and Mrs. Gandhi herself would have pushed for holding an AICC session sometime in April or May.
The fact, Mr. Chidambaram, though, is the letter written by your colleagues went well beyond Sonia Gandhi, the individual, and in fact, her leadership. What they were really asking for is a complete organizational reform. They are questioning the manner in which your party functions. They are asking for an election. They are calling for a new style of leadership, not the kind of invisible and inaccessible leadership that Sonia, or dare I say Rahul, is accused at times of giving the party. That's what they're raising, very fundamental issues. Are you not willing to grapple with them?
That's completely unfair to say that Mrs. Gandhi is invisible or Mr. Gandhi is invisible. The media can make anyone invisible if the media wants to. Mr. Gandhi is visible every day, active every day. In fact, some of you accuse him of being hyperactive. Mrs. Gandhi is not seen in public because of the pandemic and because of her health concerns. You don't see me in public as much as you would have if there was no pandemic. The issues that have been raised by my friends and colleagues are issues that have been there with the party, and the party will try to do better. I share some of those concerns. And in fact, Mrs. Gandhi today, in her closing remarks, acknowledged that there are weaknesses in the party, and those weaknesses must be addressed. And the weaknesses will be addressed. Why do you assume those weaknesses will not be addressed? When the BJP lost power in 2004, did you write off the BJP? So why do you write off the Congress? The BJP sunk to a low of 2. Did you write off the BJP? The Congress sunk to a very low immediately after emergency, but did we not bounce back? But don't be so quick to write off the Congress. I know it's a it's a hobby of some sections of the media. But as I said, I don't expect you to join that section, and I know you won't.
Mr. Chidambaram, with due regard, I am not writing off anyone. Who am I to write off your party? The fact is that there is a group within your party, or there is a sense today that the opposition is unable to take on the Modi-Shah combine. The Congress is the largest opposition party. It needs to show the gumption to take on the Modi-Shah combine, or dare I say the BJP. Democracy needs a strong and vibrant opposition, which the Congress is unable to provide at the moment.
I'm glad you're asking this question. Of all the political parties in India, other than the BJP, the one party which is playing the role of opposition every day is the Congress party. Show me any other party which is as vigorously and as vociferously addressing the issues and opposing the Congress. Only the Congress party. Every day, practically every day, Mr. Gandhi tweets, gives interviews. I write a column in 11 languages. I tweet, I give interviews. There are many others who do it in local languages. They should do more. That's a different matter. Show me any other party which is opposing the BJP as vigorously as the Congress. But remember, the media, the overwhelming section of the media is singing the praise of the BJP. Instead of being the media and questioning the BJP, you are questioning the Congress party. A very small section of the media is giving us space and time. If the media was neutral in this country, if the media was completely uninfluenced by the BJP or unintimidated by the BJP, you would have found that the Congress's role as opposition is much larger than what it seems to be. We can have a separate debate on how much the media is the voice of the opposition.
Mr. Chidambaram, why are you blaming the media for, at one level, what is a crisis of your own making?
I'm not. I'm holding a mirror. Holding a mirror.
You're holding a mirror to us. You're welcome to hold a mirror to the media. You have every right to do that. But let's be clear. You have suffered two big Lok Sabha defeats, 2014, 2019, 44 seats, 52 seats. Have you at any stage within your party had a serious introspection or a serious look at what has gone wrong? Have there been those serious debates after two such big Lok Sabha defeats?
We have had debates, but whether you call it serious or not is your point of view. We've had debates, we've had discussions, we have tried to invent mechanisms. Some have succeeded, some have not succeeded. When we held a Bharat Bachao rally, it's a huge success. Even during the pandemic, we held a nationwide protest. It was a huge success, but some have not been so successful. See, the pandemic has thrown a spanner in the works. But for the pandemic, and if we had a more vigorous opposing media, the Congress's role would certainly look much larger than what it looks today. You can't deny that, Rajdeep.
Mr. Chidambaram, you are keeping on harping on the media's role. I'm not holding I'm not here to defend the media. I am asking you questions on the Congress. The perception, Mr. Chidambaram, sir, is that the Congress is unable to think of a viable non-Gandhi leadership. You are so umbilically tied to the Gandhis now that you are unable to even think beyond them. How do you react to those who see this as a perception of a party that has become a bit of a private family limited firm?
That's a point of view. I don't deny the right of those who hold that view. Who knows? That point of view may gain credence. Who knows who will be nominated at the ICC meeting? Anyone can be nominated and anyone can be elected. But who will be Congress president is a choice that has to be made by Congress party workers, congressmen and congresswomen. It can't be made for the Congress party by people belonging to other parties or people belonging to no party. that choice has to be made by congressmen and congresswomen. If the choice made by congressmen and congresswomen finds acceptance among the people, we will win elections. I mean, you can't deny that fundamental right of the Congress party to choose its leader.
Mr. Chidambaram, your party has the right to choose its leader. I'm just asking a simple question that is often asked. Is the top post within your party now reserved exclusively for the Gandhis?
Who said? Did the Gandhis say that? The Gandhis say that? Did the Gandhis say that? Did anyone offer to contest an election? I think this kind of fixation on this one post and one family and one election is completely wrong. Look at the overall performance of the Congress. I always point out, some of my colleagues don't notice it. At the height of Mr. Modi's power, when he's dominating the whole of North India, at the height of his power, we won 3 elections in the Hindi-speaking area. We lost a government, that's a different matter, thanks to manipulation by the BJP. We won 3 elections in Hindi-speaking states. So I assume that we cannot win an election in a Hindi-speaking state. Please pause and reflect on the statement I made. 3 elections in the Hindi-speaking region was won by the Congress against the formidable political machinery of the BJP.
Sir, you will focus on the 3 elections you've won. I will focus on the 2 general elections you've lost. This can go on and on. I want to ask you a simple question. Today you're saying there will be an AICC session which will take place within 6 months where a new leadership will be elected. Now, we've heard this before and there's a sense that in all these sessions it's all very orchestrated. It's not really elections, it's nomination. At the end of the day, it could be either Rahul Gandhi if he's agreeable, and if he's not ready, then you'll turn to Sonia. And if Sonia Gandhi says enough is enough, then maybe a Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. This is the perception. How are you going to go beyond that? Can we expect truly a free and fair election to that president's post, not a nomination culture?
I have no doubt in my mind that the election commissioners or the returning officers will invite nominations. And I would be quite happy if there is more than one nomination. Who will nominate himself or herself, or who will nominate another person, I cannot speculate. I will be very happy to have multiple nominations, and then there will be scrutiny and some will withdraw. And I'll be quite happy to have an election. But whoever is elected at the ICC will be accepted by everyone in the party. I can turn around and say, when Mr. Rajnath Singh stepped down, Mr. Amit Shah was elected in a contested election. And Mr. Amit Shah's term came to an end. Was Mr. J.P. Nadda elected in a contested election? I mean, we can argue this until the cows come home. The point is, there will be an AICC session, there will be elections, there will be nominations. Whoever is elected will be accepted by the Congress people.
You know, let me sum up what I said in a tweet yesterday, Mr. Chidambaram, half in jest. Sonia Gandhi tired but not retired. Rahul Gandhi out but still in and calling the shots. Priyanka Gandhi in but still out because she's not tested. Does that really capture, in a sense, the Congress as it stands today? How would you react to that?
I can say you are very clever, but not necessarily accurate. I compliment you for your cleverness.
No, Mr. Chidambaram, the truth is, even today, Sonia Gandhi seemed to suggest she doesn't want to continue. Rahul Gandhi is reluctant to return, has almost said, no, I will not return, not yet at least. To that extent, do you accept that there is a leadership vacuum at the moment in your party?
Who said? Did the Gandhis say that? Did the Gandhis say that? Did the Gandhis say that? Did anyone offer to contest an election? I think this kind of fixation on this one post and one family and one election is completely wrong. Look at the overall performance of the Congress. I always point out, some of my colleagues don't notice it. at the height of Mr. Modi's power, when he's dominating the whole of North India, at the height of his power, we won 3 elections in the Hindi-speaking area. We lost a government, that's a different matter, thanks to manipulation by the BJP. We won 3 elections in Hindi-speaking states.
So you made...
So why assume that we cannot? Completely wrong. It's completely wrong. We have to have an election. Even on August 10, 2019, the decision was that Mrs. Gandhi will be interim president until we call an AICC and hold election for a regular president. That decision has been reiterated today. The time between last August and this August was consumed almost entirely by the pandemic. You must allow for the pandemic factor. You don't allow for the pandemic factor as far as the Congress party is concerned.
Sir, Mr. Chidambaram, I'm allowing for the pandemic factor. What I am unable to allow is the manner in which it appears at the moment that the Congress is at one level fixated on Rahul Gandhi in particular, that because he is unwilling to take back his resignation of last year, the seat is being kept warm for him till such time as he is ready. Am I right or wrong?
That again, as I said, is an uncharitable conclusion. We have to hold an election. When an election is held, suppose Mr. Gandhi is nominated and he consents to be nominated. There will be an election if anyone contests, and I would welcome a contest. Did not Mr. Jitendra Prasada contest against
Sonia Gandhi?
Mrs. Gandhi? Did not Siddhartha Shankar Ray contest against Brahmananda Reddy? Did not the famous election in which Pattabi Sitaramaiah was elected was a contested election? And therefore, contests can take place. You are jumping the gun. Let an AICC session be held. Let nominations be invited, and we will know who wants to contest. I invite you to join the Congress party and contest.
No, I am not jumping the gun. Most people believe they can't take on the Gandhis in the Congress. They run the levers of power. They dictate, in a sense, the terms as to how an election is to take place.
These are extreme conclusions. You don't know the vigorous debates we have one-on-one or in small groups. I have debated with Mr. Gandhi. I've debated with Mrs. Gandhi. They have never shut my voice. They have allowed a debate. See, don't judge the Congress. Congress party has been the most open, most democratic, most debating society in the history of political parties. Can you imagine any other, can you show me any other party, except perhaps the Politburo of the Communist Party, where vigorous debates take place? Is a vigorous debate taking place in the BJP today?
You know, the fact is that all this vigorous debate, Mr. Chidambaram, was of a Congress party of a different era. The Congress party today doesn't, it seems, want a debate. That is what your colleagues pointed out in their letter. They want a democratic dialogue. They want more discussion within your party fora.
What happened today? What happened today? There was a debate. There was a debate for nearly 7 hours. 4 of those friends of mine who signed the letter were present and presented their point of view. They were heard patiently. Nobody shut them out. The others spoke, and eventually we adopted a unanimous statement. Is that the absence, that shows an absence of debate, or does it show a vigorous debate?
How would you react, though, in conclusion, Mr. Chidambaram, to say that at the end of the day, for all what you are saying, your party needs change? You're facing a very, very strong BJP on one side, a dominant party. You have a CWC where the average age today is 70 plus. You need to revamp it. You need to have young talents. You need to change the way you function. You agree or not?
I entirely agree. I have proposed myself that senior people must make way and younger people must take over positions in the Congress Working Committee and in the organization. I've said this repeatedly, and many are in agreement with me. When the AICC organization is restructured or changes made, I'm absolutely confident that many young people will replace the senior people. That doesn't mean the senior people are being shunted out. I mean, if I cease to be a special invitee of the Congress Working Committee, I'm not going to regret it. I'll continue to write, I'll continue to tweet, I'll continue to speak, but a younger man will take my place.
Let me ask you a final question. What is your message to those who wrote this letter which kicked off this letter bomb that triggered all this off? Are you going to punish them? Are they going to be targeted in some way? Or have they been able to make a point that it's time for the Congress party to open itself to a free and frank dialogue?
They explained that they wanted to make a point. I think they have made a point. Mrs. Gandhi was gracious in her closing remarks to say she holds nothing against them. We're not going to look back. We're going to look forward. And we're going to work with everyone. So I think if they wanted to make a point, that point has been made. Matter is over. We are looking forward. You are forcing us to look at the rear view mirror. I'm looking at the windshield and going forward.
Let me leave it there, Mr. Chidambaram. You've given your point of view and you claim that the Congress is going to change, but change for the better. We'll wait and see. I appreciate your joining us here on the news today on this big day in the Congress. Let me just widen